Welcome to ByProduct Live, where we unbox everything SaaS and product. We talk with experts and leaders in SaaS and product to understand their approach to leadership and ways of working, to share their knowledge and understanding. ByProduct Live is brought to you in partnership with AmSource. AmSource are a specialist talent solutions business to startup and scaling tech businesses globally. I'm delighted to welcome Sayan Maiti. Sayan is Head of Marketplace and Driver App at FreeNow and was previously Director of Product Management at Sixt and Head of Product at Swiggy. Sayan has extensive experience across marketplace and on-demand apps in the driving and transportation space. Sayan's worked on a number of products from idea stage, and that's the subject we'll be discussing in today's episode of ByProduct Live, 0 to 1 Product. Welcome to the show, Sayan. It's great to have you with us. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Andrew. I hope you're also doing good and really excited to be here.
Yep, I'm great, thank you. So let's dive straight into things. So 0 to 1 product, what does that mean and how would you define it?
Yeah, I think there are two ways to look at 0 to 1 products, right? I think the first is like if you see the journey of a startup, every company starts with something from scratch, right? So they have an
Yep,
initial version of the product, and that's how they build their company around it. And so that's one way to look at it. The second way of a 0 to 1 product is for any existing company which has, let's say, one product or multiple products, and every company is always trying to innovate and launch something new for their users and make some impact out of it, right? And that's
okay.
also a journey where any existing company with already existing products is trying to launch a lot of new products for their existing customers or even go to into a completely new space or market.
Okay. I would always have assumed it was just for startups, but I guess older
Yeah.
companies can work in this space too. Cool. So if we think about that new area in a product and the innovation, what is it that's exciting to you about working on 0 to 1 products?
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing is about the problem itself, right? Because every 0 to 1 product starts with an insight, which is could lead to a problem or an opportunity that is worth solving, right?
Yep.
And at the start of any of this product journey, the interesting thing is that the solution is quite flexible, right? So you're not constrained that you need to build something or there is already something existing, and you are
Yep.
free to innovate and think creatively in multiple ways. And that sort of like really the process of this creative thinking in being able to solve this problem or opportunity in multiple ways is the most exciting part for me.
Yeah, cool. And I guess there must be obviously different ways in terms of developing products, but how does 0 to 1 product differ to those other ways, so things like incremental updates or line extensions?
Yeah, I think incremental products typically mean that there is already something existing and you're trying to like it's sort of a different journey, right? Like it's probably 1 to 10 or maybe 10 to 100 kind of a journey where you're trying to make the existing product better and sort of make sure that you can drive a specific metric. For example, it could be
Okay.
engagement or so on. And a line extension is actually could be a kind of 0 to 1 product, right? Like I said, like many companies have existing products, but they are trying to now capture a new market or maybe do something for their existing customers and capture a higher share of value or higher share of time. And so a line extension could have a very good overlap with a 0 to 1 product journey as well.
Yeah. And I guess that this is probably a difficult question, so we're putting you on the spot with this one. But
Yeah.
um, how do you, as a product leader, recognize when an idea has the potential to be a 0 to 1 product? Because obviously, not every idea can get put into production, right?
Yeah. So I think, like I said, so a 0 to 1 product journey should always start with an insight, right? Like there needs to be something that is really exciting. And if you have a validated insight, right, and you can run a lot of research, you can learn a lot of, let's say, go through a lot of analytics data, and you would typically find some patterns or insights that say that, hey, this looks like a problem or this looks like an opportunity that we are not doing well. Or maybe you can also look at the competition and an industry where customers are using a product but they're not really happy with it, right? So there are many ways to look at
Okay.
it, and typically you form an insight around it, and that's insight, if it's like strong and it also affects a large market size, is a really good opportunity to go after, right?
Yeah,
And typically, like the two things that I would look at it is like how painful it is, right, from a
okay,
scale of 1 to 10, right? So
yeah,
basically, if the existing customers say that, hey, I have a pain, and it's probably I don't it's a small pain, right? It's not as big, versus it's like a really painful thing, but I'm still, let's say, working with a not so great solution. That's a good opportunity to go after. And the second
yeah,
is the market size itself, right? So typically, if many users experience that pain or a problem, then of course it's also something that can generate a lot of value if you solve that problem well.
yeah. I think one of the things that we've come into conversation on this podcast a few times is who we should be listening to, whether it's the user problem or whether it's a top-down board decision about what they think they should do. So where do you stand on that? Where do you recognize the opportunities that come from top-down or from the user and the insights?
Yeah, I think this is a classic question where I can say it depends, right? And I
Depends,
can
yeah.
speak, yeah, I can speak about the on one side, like the example of Henry Ford, right, where he says that, hey, like if he would have asked users, like people would have asked to build faster horses. But the interesting
Yeah,
thing there is that there's a pain that people want something faster than a horse, right? So that's kind of the problem. So I
yeah,
think it's very important to start with that problem, right? Otherwise, you may lose track because, and that problem could be linked to a solution that uh, could be like of multiple forms, right? But I think if you are just thinking of it from top down without really validating that problem or that opportunity really existing, then
yeah,
you may end up like building something for which there is no user at the end of it.
yeah, of course. And ultimately, it needs to service the user's needs, right? Otherwise, it's not going to
Exactly.
scale. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Cool. And moving on, I think by definition, going 0 to 1 is going to bring lots of challenges. And what would you say are the biggest challenges you've faced in leading the development of a 0 to 1 product?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges in the 0 to 1 product journey is the risk associated with it, right? Because typically, as you start this journey of building something and launching to your users, and of course getting that feedback, right? Often times you may not see the success in the very first days of launching
Yeah,
something, right? But if you persevere and you like stick to going deep and sort of iterating over the initial version of the solution, you would reach a stage where you are finally solved the problem well, right? And that's the kind of place where you can see a lot of, it could be a hockey stick growth, or it could be a very high amount of usage
yeah,
and retention, and users coming back and using the product again. So I think there is a risk of teams either like giving up, or maybe teams sort of not going deep and persevering for the problem well enough for a period of time to get success. So that's the risky
yeah,
part of the journey. And the other part is essentially having to deal with less data, right? Like as you understand, like we're
yeah,
starting a journey, and initially you may not have a lot of data to look at, okay, essentially what's really happening in the product and what's not working. And for that, it requires very important interaction with your users, right? So it could be like, I call them, let's say, reference users. So it's very important to be in touch with your reference users. Let's say it could be a bunch of alpha users who you are shipping your first version of product to, taking regular feedback. And in absence of a lot of data, it's very important to speak to these users and understand if whatever you are shipping as a part of the journey is adding value to their life, right? And is
yeah,
solving their problem. So that's a very important, again, aspect to consider, because many times product teams like think of a lot of data, but I think talking the user can give you the most valuable insight in a 0 to 1 journey.
yeah. And I'm guessing if you utilize that data correctly, then that's something that will really help you manage the risk because I think in that early stage of product, just by definition, people need to have confidence in the idea and believe in the vision. And if it's just an idea without any data to back it up, people could very quickly lose the confidence, and then that increases the risk. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's correct, and that's why I think anecdotes are really important in the early stage of the journey, because you may not see a lot of data to look at what's happening. But let's say if you have anecdotes from your customers around what's working, what's not working, and use those anecdotes to sort of motivate your team, sell to the leadership and your sponsors who are actually helping you build this kind of product, is a good way to ensure that you have the budget and the resources, and you can also motivate the team around the journey that you're taking to make this
Yeah.
product successful over a period of time.
Yeah, and I guess following on from that, when we're talking about features and functionality and you're starting to build the market, how do you prioritize? Have you got any techniques or any experience of making sure you do prioritize in the right way?
Yeah. So again, I think there are so many models of prioritization available in the market right now. But I think the classic ones is still like looking at the potential impact and the effort, right? But I think the one thing, like I said, so it's important to build with your reference customers. So what really helps is
Yeah,
like if you can identify some of your customers, like who are really closer to you and who you are building the product with, and work with them in sort of stack ranking the important things that would make it better, right? Because again, like you don't have data, like or you have very limited data. So in absence of data, you should prioritize together with your customers or take them in the entire journey and look at what are the main things that you can work, mostly from an impact perspective. And it could be like impact in this case could mean a bigger pain point versus a less pain point in how this particular thing solves the problem.
yeah. And I think you've touched on that there, but when we're through the journey of a zero to one product, how do you define success? And I guess in those true early stage products where there might not be any existing market, there might not be any benchmarks to measure against, how would you define success in that situation?
Yeah, I think success for me, if I can look at it again in two ways. So the subjective way to look at it, do the set of customers who you were initially starting to build the product for and whose problem were you solving, how happy or how delighted are with the experience, right?
Yeah,
And how often are they coming back and using the product again and again? So if you measure some kind of a usage or engagement and the retention, which essentially means that how often are they coming back and using the product again, is success, right? And it doesn't need to be a very large group, but if a small group of product is sorry a small group of users is actually coming back and using the product and doing it more often than not, it means that you have built something that is valuable.
yeah, cool. That all definitely makes sense. So, um, I really appreciate you joining us today, Sen. So we're going to start and wrap up the conversation. We always like our listeners to take away three key takeaways. So, what would you highlight as the three key points that people should take away from today in that zero to one product space?
Yeah, I think the three takeaways that I will take is that in a zero to one product journey, start with a problem and start with the user, but look at it again very deeply and in a narrow space, right? So don't look at it too wide,
Yeah,
and look at it in a narrow space. Understand the risks, right? And ensure that you take these customer anecdotes and you ensure that you can rally the team, because sometimes the journey can be large, but at the
yeah,
same time, motivate and rally your team because it's important. And the third important thing that I would say is build with your customers, right? And it's very useful if you have a set of reference customers who is not actually your team, but an actual customer who is using the product, and build with them and show them the product often, and ensure that you are able to make progress every week and every month, and sort of help in the journey.
yeah, brilliant. Well, they'll all be very useful. I've certainly found today very informative, and I really appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.